Dr. James R. Doty has lived many lives. His students know him as an adjunct professor and director of the Center for Compassion and Altruism Research and Education at Stanford University School of Medicine. His patients are thankful for his expertise in complex spine surgery. And countless startups have benefited from his investments. But before Doty was a neurosurgeon or angel investor, he was a little boy living every day in a mental war zone.
I came up from a challenging background. My father was an alcoholic. My mother had had a stroke when I was a child, was partially paralyzed, had a seizure disorder. Unfortunately, was chronically depressed, attempted suicide. We were on public assistance essentially my entire life. And oftentimes, and there would be trauma at home, fights, etc., I would get on my bike and ride as far and as fast as I could away.
It was during one of those rides that Doty found himself at a magic shop talking to Ruth, the owner's mother. She was one of the only people at the time that really listened and made him feel safe. Children who grow up in chaotic environments are often chronically stressed and anxious. Their sympathetic nervous system, which controls the body's fight or flight response, is always on, keeping kids like Doty in a constant survival state that further stresses the body. Seeing that this 12-year-old boy needed some guidance, Ruth invited Doty back each week.
To be honest, I had no self-awareness. I didn't sit there and go, oh, wow, this is incredible. She's going to help me. Frankly, the reason I showed up was because I had absolutely nothing else to do. And she was giving me chocolate chip cookies.
Over the course of 6 weeks, Doty learned the practice of mindfulness. It started with relaxation techniques and breathing exercises that helped him turn off survival mode and engage the parasympathetic nervous system, known as the rest and digest state.
And this is that place where actually we evolved to be, where we should be most of the time. And it's when our physiology, both our brain and our peripheral physiology, work at their best. And once I was able to attend and be present, then she made me realize that the negative dialogue that I had going on in my head was not truth. And so she taught me, instead of just letting those comments float by without attaching to them, she actually taught me to respond to them with positive affirmation. When I changed how I looked at myself, it resulted in me how I looked at the world, and more importantly, how the world looked at me. And once I was open, once I was thoughtful, once I was kind, once I dissipated that anger, people responded to me differently and wanted to be helpful.
It was at this point that Ruth finally taught Doty the skill that would change the course of his life: the act of manifesting. The idea of manifestation can be traced back to the 1800s, but it's recently gained newfound popularity online. Though it may be easy to dismiss as a sham, the practice of speaking about your desires can be a powerful tool to reach your goals. Doty says the technique that's often associated with manifestation is to utilize your sensory organs, eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and skin, to rewire your brain.
And what I mean by that is through repetition, you lay down neural pathways. And this idea of what fires together, wires together. And so I would make lists of what I wanted and write them down. Then I would read them silently. Then I would read them aloud. Then I would visualize myself being in that position over and over and over again.
Which embeds the intention into your mind. It uses a neural process called value tagging.
Through our sensory organs, we have about 100 million bits of information coming to us every second. Yet we're only able to process 50 to 100 on a conscious level. The vast, vast majority go to maintaining homeostasis of our bodily functions. But on a conscious level, you have the ability to embed consciously thoughts into your subconscious. When you daydream or mind wander, you activate something called your default mode network. And this is self-referential. And it paints a picture of who you see yourself or want to be or what you want. And once you do that and you have a definition of what it is you intend or see yourself as, then this activates something called your salience network.
The salience network helps the brain filter and prioritize information. By constantly envisioning what you want, the network is alerted to focus on it. Doty compares it to a filing cabinet and a bloodhound.
you are able to place your intention into the filing cabinet. The bloodhound looks at the filing cabinet and then is constantly activated to run around to see what it might be possible to help you manifest.
Meaning that if you're doing a different task, your subconscious stays focused on the intention you've connected importance to.
If it's loud and somebody says your name, you still turn to your name, right? Even though normally, if that wasn't your name, you wouldn't turn to it at all. You wouldn't even hear it. And that's because your identity is deeply embedded and defines who you are. So your subconscious is always turned on. And so if you value tag correctly, your subconscious is always on the alert to activate your consciousness to actually manifest it. And this is where the executive control network comes in. If you're stressed and anxious, the ability to access prior memory or experience, or listen, if you will, to your subconscious clearly is limited. If you're in the right mental state, or if you're in the parasympathetic nervous system activation state, then you're attuned to this, and actually that acts as the CEO, if you will, to make it happen.
Doty says that manifestation often gets confused with the idea that the cosmos has deemed you worthy or that the stars have aligned. The reality is that there's no external factor that's granting your deepest wishes. This practice, at its core, is focusing enough on what you want that you begin to recognize the opportunities around you. You still have to put in the legwork, but the true power of manifesting is all in your head.
What people don't appreciate, and this is one of the problems, is people keep looking outside themselves to the universe or for some external magic that's going to change their lives. There is no external magic. The power that they have in their own minds is far beyond what they can ever imagine. And so often people give away their self-agency to outside themselves. As an example, I'm sure you've been in situations where you've expressed a desire or a goal or something that was important to you, and you had people sit there and go, that's not possible. You're not going to do that. You can't do that. And some people listen. And my point is that the most important thing you have is the ability to control your mind.
This ability can be achieved through mindfulness practices like meditation and manifestation. It's well documented that people can do incredible things with their minds, like controlling body temperature, heart rate, and even brain activation. But Doty says we need to realize that if we can make extremely positive impacts in our lives just through thought, the opposite is also true.
What I tell people is once they say something like, it is not possible, I cannot, I am not worthy, that becomes truth, period. If you say I can't, that becomes truth. Every time you make a negative statement about yourself, it's as if you're laying a brick down, building your own prison. And the walls get higher and it gets darker. And people think they deserve that or it's happening because there's something negative about them. But you have to realize that you have the key and only you have the key to open that prison.
Just like how manifesting opens your gaze to new opportunities, negative thoughts will bring your focus to all the things going wrong. You create the patterns in your life, which also means that you have the power to change them if you want.
You have to understand what got you to where you're at and what you have or have not been manifesting. Then you have to clarify your intention, what you really want.
Doty says manifestation doesn't work on a timeline, and not every intention will become reality, which is why he believes that the best use of manifestation is not for wealth, cars, or property, but for meaningful relationships and fulfilling opportunities. You can learn more about manifesting and the science behind this practice in Doty's new book, Mind Magic: The Neuroscience of Manifestation and How It Changes Everything. For more information about Dr. James R. Doty and all of our guests, visit radiohealthjournal.org. Our writer-producer is Kristen Farah. Our production manager is Jason Dickey. I'm Greg Johnson. This segment is brought to you by the Capital One Venture X card. Earn unlimited 2x miles on everything you buy. Plus, get access to over 1,300 airport lounges and a $300 annual credit for bookings through Capital One Travel. What's in your wallet? Terms apply. Lounge access is subject to change. See CapitalOne.com for details.